Welcome to today's Catholic Daily Readings from Christus Dominus Bread of Life. A reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Thessalonians. But concerning the charity of brotherhood, we have no need to write to you, for you yourselves have learned from God to love one another. For indeed, you act in this way toward all the brothers in the whole of Macedonia. But we exhort you, brothers, so that you may abound all the more, and so that you may strive to be quiet and to attend to your own concerns, and to work with your own hands, just as we have instructed you.
The Lord comes to rule the earth with justice. The Lord comes to rule the earth with justice. Sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done wondrous deeds. His right hand, his holy arm have brought him victory. The Lord comes to rule the earth with justice. The Lord comes to rule the earth with justice. Let the sea and all it holds resound, the world and all who dwell within. The rivers clap their hands in joy, the mountains shout together. To rule the earth with justice. The Lord comes to rule the earth with justice. Before the Lord, for he comes to rule the earth. Justice and equity in all nations. Glory of his throne forever. The Lord with justice.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. For it is like a man, setting out on a long journey, who called his servants and handed over his goods to them. And to one he gave 5 talents, and to another 2, and to another 1, to each according to his own ability. And promptly he set out. Then the one who had received 5 talents went out, and he made use of them, and he gained another 5. Similarly, the one who had received 2 gained another 2. But the one who had received 1, going out, dug into the earth and hid his lord's money. Then after a long time the lord of those servants returned, and he settled accounts with them. And the one who had received 5 talents approached, bringing another 5 talents, saying, Lord, you delivered 5 talents to me. Behold, I have gained another 5 in addition. His lord said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. Since you have been faithful over a few things, I will appoint you over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. Then the one who had received 2 talents also approached, and he said, Lord, you delivered 2 talents to me. Behold, I have gained another 2. His Lord said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. Since you have been faithful over a few things, I will appoint you over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. But the one who had received 1 talent, approaching, said, Lord, I know that you are a hard man. You reap where you did not sow, and you gather where you have not scattered. And so, being afraid, I went out and hid your talent in the earth. Behold, you have what is yours. But his Lord, responding, said to him, Wicked and slothful servant, you knew that I reap where I did not sow, and gather where I have not scattered. Therefore you should have entrusted my money to the bankers, and then, at my arrival, I would have received what is mine with interest. Therefore take the talent away from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has, more shall be given, and he shall have an abundance. But from him who has not, even what he has shall be taken away. And cast that useless servant into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Join us for today's reflection. She had the idea 3 years ago, a way to help homeless families transition to permanent housing that addressed the real barriers keeping them trapped in temporary shelters. She'd researched it, sketched out the framework, even identified potential funding sources. But every time she thought about actually proposing it, the same voice whispered, You don't have the credentials for this. People with real experience should handle something this important. What if you mess up and make things worse? So the proposal stayed in her desk drawer. Meanwhile, families continued cycling through the broken system she knew how to fix. The third servant in Jesus' parable about the talents operates from this same devastating lie. He doesn't squander his master's money through reckless spending or foolish investments. He protects it. He keeps it safe. He does exactly what risk-averse people do when they're terrified of making mistakes: absolutely nothing. But notice what Jesus reveals about his real motivation. I knew you were a demanding person, harvesting where you did not plant and gathering where you did not scatter seed. So out of fear I went off and buried your talent in the ground. This isn't humility. This is slander disguised as self-protection. The servant doesn't say, I was afraid I might lose your money, or I didn't want to disappoint you, or even I didn't know how to invest wisely. He says, I know you're the kind of person who takes credit for other people's work and demands results you haven't earned. He's turned his fear of failure into an accusation against his master's character. This is the psychological mechanism that keeps most people from taking meaningful risks with their gifts. We convince ourselves that the system is rigged, that success requires connections we don't have, that the people in charge will steal credit for our contributions, that failure will be punished disproportionately. Some of this might even be true, but we use these legitimate concerns as excuses for complete inaction, then tell ourselves we're being wise rather than cowardly. Paul's letter to the Thessalonians reveals what the alternative looks like. He tells them they're already living out love so well that they're teaching the entire region about authentic Christian community. But he doesn't tell them to rest on their accomplishments. He says, we urge you to progress even more. Excellence becomes the foundation for greater excellence, not an excuse to stop growing. The first 2 servants in Jesus' parable understand this. They don't protect what they've been given. They risk it. They put it into play. They trust that their master's character can handle both their success and potential failure. Most importantly, they act from abundance rather than scarcity. The buried talent represents more than unused ability. It represents the spiritual death that comes from believing God is more interested in punishing our failures than celebrating our attempts. The third servant has created a theology of divine cruelty to justify his unwillingness to live courageously. But here's what the parable doesn't let us ignore. The master's response proves the servant wrong about his character. The first two servants are rewarded not just for their success, but for their willingness to try. Their doubling of the investment matters less than their refusal to play it safe. The master is revealed as generous, not cruel, encouraging, not threatening. The real tragedy isn't that the third servant lost his talent. It's that he never discovered who his master actually was. His fear kept him from experiencing the very relationship that would have made risk-taking possible. This is the spiritual dynamic behind most unrealized potential. We bury our gifts not because we lack ability, but because we've believed lies about God's character that make faithful risk-taking feel impossible. We think God is more likely to punish our failures than celebrate our attempts. We assume divine love is conditional on our performance rather than the source of our courage to perform. The psalm today declares that the Lord comes to rule with justice, but justice in the biblical sense isn't about harsh judgment. It's about things being set right. It's about each person being able to contribute their unique gifts to the flourishing of the whole community. The justice of God creates conditions where talents can be safely risked and failures can be redeemed. The woman with the proposal for homeless families finally submitted it last month, not because she suddenly gained credentials she didn't have before, but because she realized her fear of inadequacy was keeping families in situations her idea could actually improve. The proposal was accepted. Implementation begins next quarter. She didn't become qualified by waiting. She became qualified by acting. The talent was never the problem. The lie about the master's character was the problem. The question facing all of us isn't whether we're talented enough to risk what we've been given. The question is whether we trust God enough to find out, because the tragedy isn't failing after trying. The tragedy is never discovering what God could have done through our willingness to try.